You're listening to Mysteries Beyond. What mysteries lie beyond the reach of our senses? And who are you in this vast multiverse? Hello, and welcome to Mysteries Beyond. I'm your host, Laura Lavender. Guys, we are on Principle 5 out of 7. We're almost done. Thank you so much for following through. Just 2 more principles, and then we'll start talking about the more popular topics such as sleep paralysis and Ouija boards. So, in this episode, we'll be talking about the 5th principle, the principle of rhythm. This principle states that everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. In simpler terms, it states that there are cycles in the universe. For example, the earth has seasons. There's spring, where it seems everything is being born and blossoming. There's summer, where the sun is at its peak. Then there's autumn, where the days start to get shorter and things seem to begin to slow down. And finally, there's winter, where in many parts of the world it snows. Plants die or are dormant, and animals go into hibernation, only to come back to life when spring comes back in cycle. We then have the sun. The sun rises from the east and sets in the west, and then rises once more the next day. Next we have moon cycles, or moon phases, that happen every month. So you have the new moon, or the dark moon. Then you've got your waxing crescent, your first quarter, your waxing gibbous, and at its peak, the full moon, where the moon's face appears to be getting the most sunlight. The amount then begins to decrease. It'll go from waning gibbous to third quarter to waning crescent, and finally the new moon again. Which brings to mind women, the cycles women have, menstrual cycles each month, right? Humans as a whole have cycles. We have sleeping cycles, or circadian rhythms. Sometimes we'll set an alarm to wake up at a certain hour in the morning, but some days we wake up right before the alarm is about to go off. Even our breathing is a cycle. We inhale and we exhale, and we inhale again. As a matter of fact, our lives as a whole are a cycle. We are born into this life. We eat of the trees and the plants to provide ourselves with nutrients to grow and survive. We have children and create families. And when our time comes, we're technically buried. Then the same trees and plants eat us, and we provide them with nutrients. And we are born again with each new generation. So we're continuously being born, we're living, we're dying, and being born again. What about our oceans? Our oceans have rhythms. The ocean has its high and its low tides. What about empires? They all rise and they all fall eventually. And just as there are cycles in the physical plane, this law also teaches us that there are cycles in every plane, in the mental, in the physical, and in the spiritual plane. So, for example, if we were to take a look at it in the spiritual plane, our emotions, you'll often notice that when there's a period of enthusiasm or a feeling of high levels of joy, it is later followed by the opposite feeling and mood of depression. But this law also talks about the law of compensation. In other words, it's the counterbalance. The Kabbalion refers to this when it says, "The measure of the swing to the right is a measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. It says that a man who enjoys life intensely is subject to suffering as intensely, and a man who feels but little pain is capable of feeling but little joy. So this principle teaches us that nothing is permanent. There is divine timing for everything. One of the things that we must remember when we're going through rough times is that this universal rhythm swings on forward like a pendulum. It's only a matter of time before it comes back and swings in your favor. So just because it's not happening for you now doesn't mean that it won't. Your time will come. The same day that you plant the seed, it's not the same day that you harvest. And you can use this occult knowledge to work with it and change your course, change your direction if you want, for the better. So, for example, I used to go with the flow and eat when I was raised and conditioned to eat, but I wanted to better my health. So I stopped that flow. And what happened? Well, at first you could say it was chaos because I had to learn new recipes, change my grocery shopping list, do further research, tell my family and friends that I didn't want to eat at certain restaurants that we were already used to eating at. But then, slowly but surely, I changed my rhythm in the direction that I wanted it to go to. You see, change requires destroying one thing and believing in something that is not yet created. Now, if you're someone who feels you have been on the backswing of things for a while and you're wondering when will your time come, most likely you're creating resistance by having that victim mentality. And the way to change that pendulum swing is to just let go. It's said that it's easier to understand this principle if you think about it like pulling a bow and arrow. So if you're pulling back the arrow, that's you creating the resistance. But as soon as you decide to let go, the pendulum will start swinging back into your favor. And this is a forward rhythm. So if things are going really great and you start to get a whole bunch of great things into your life, you don't have to pay it back. It just keeps going forward. Because forward is our natural state. And so, in summary, this principle teaches us that nothing is permanent, that there are cycles in this universe, and that there is divine timing for everything. And so, if you don't like the side that the pendulum is swinging on, all you have to do is just let go and get out of the way so that you can see the pendulum at its hole, so that you can catch the swing in the direction that you want it to go to. Well, that's it for this episode. This one was pretty straightforward. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if so, you know what to do. Go ahead and subscribe so that you may be notified of all other future episodes. Also, don't forget to check out our website at www.mysteriesbeyond.com and or follow us on social media on Facebook at Mysteries Beyond. Lastly, if you have any questions or any feedback or simply anything that you just feel like sharing, you can email me at lauralavender.mb@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening to Mysteries Beyond. I'm your host, Laura Lavender, and I'll see you next episode.